aka Bullets, YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Remember Richard Chillpaints? Well, he made his own team, Richard Chillpaints Racing, before the second race. And his car is not Matthew Field Wheel, but a new rookie by the name of Kevin Carvick. Jeff Corvette will start at pole position for the second race, and for every race for the rest of the season, there will be a silent lap 3. But then, Chick Hicks wrecks 14 cars on the third lap, and Chuck Armstrong's out for the next race because he hit the wall really hard. Bobby Carboni would almost win the second race, but Slide Park would pass him on the high side to win the second race. And here is what Slide Park had to say after his win in the second race of 2001. Dale Earnhardt Jr. would start at pole position for the third race, where Chick Hicks wrecked 13 cars, and now he's out for the season because of his rival, Kyle Traxon. Well, this is bad any way you put it. And also, Chick Hicks and Kyle Traxon will be suspended for the rest of the season for interrupting the silent third lap. Jeff Corvette would go on to win the third race. Dale Carrett will start at pole position for the fourth race, where Jeff Corvette would lead the most laps with 236, and he only loses by 3 feet to Kevin Carvick, who wins his very first race, the fourth race of 2001. And here is the finish, which looks very similar to when Dale Earnhardt won at the very same track a year ago. Jeff Corvette would start at pole position for the fifth race, where Slider Petrolski goes airborne on lap 88, and he falls onto Ron Blaster, who's out for 10 races. This is because of Todd Marcus, who will be suspended for 10 races because of what he did. Slide Park came very close to winning the fifth race, but in the end, Dale Carrett will win the fifth race of 2001. Krusty Rotor would surprisingly get the pole for the sixth race, where Buck Schooner would get flipped on lap 189 because of Ryan Thunderbolt Jr. Why? Krusty Rotor would lead the most laps with 113, but it's not enough to beat Hollingus, who wins the sixth race of 2001. Bill Racelot would start at pole position for the seventh race, where Dirksen D'Agostino flips on lap 99. I don't know how, but Chuck Armstrong would lead the most laps with 185, and Dale Carrett would win the seventh race. I don't know, but Rusty Wheelhouse will start at pole position for the eighth race, where Eugene Carbareski is out for 8 races because of Ken Schrader. Well, of course this happened, but Ken Schrader had this to say to Eugene Carbareski. Kazmo Mikno would actually get his first top 10. Hooray! And the King would go on to win the 8th race, and the King has this to say to Kazmo Mikno. Hollingus would start at pole position for the 9th race, where Billy Oil Changer wrecks Johnny Blaber and Bill Gears. Why? But now Billy Oil Changer's out because of Maury Clutchburn. Hooray! And Rusty Wheelhouse would bump and run Maury Clutchburn. I thought you apologized to us in 1995, saying never to wreck other cars again. Mark Carton, who never wrecks other cars, almost wins the 9th race, but in the end, the King wins the 9th race, and Bobby Carboni would start at pole position for the 10th race, where Winford Bradford Rutherford is out because of a cut tire, and Podgy Wipeout runs over it a couple laps later, which means he's out too. Chuck Armstrong would lead the most laps with just 80, but the King would be first as of the last lap, but be passed by Rusty Wheelhouse, who would win the 10th race of 2001. And here's what he had to say. April 29th, 2001. It would have been Dale Earnhardt's 50th birthday if he hadn't died. Mark Carton would start at pole position for the 11th race, where Ernie Gearson is out because of Sammy Smelter. That's gross! And the King would almost win the 11th race, but in the end, Elliot Draftler would beat him to the line to win his very first race. And for the first time since 1979, the 21 and the 43 finished 1-2. Mark Burnsley would start at pole position for the 12th race, where Johnny Blamer accidentally starts a crash. A car that got through is Tony Gasworth, and he would win the 12th race. Ricky Sludd would start at pole position for the 13th race, where Ralph Carlo goes airborne on lap 148 because of Mark Burnsley. Why? And Ricky Sludd would only lose by 9 feet to the King. And the King wins the 13th race of 2001. Murray Clutchburn would start at pole position for the 14th race, where Davey Apex jumps on other cars to take the lead. But Manny Flywheel somehow wrecks him while Davey Apex is midair. But Dale Earnhardt Jr. would lose by 4 feet to the King, who would win the 14th race of 2001. Jeff Gorvette would start at pole position for the 15th race, where he would lead the most laps with 297 and easily win the 15th race. Yup, Jeff Gorvette dominated this one, and Kajimo Mikino would get his first pole with the 16th race, and Hollingus would go into the catch fence on lap 102 because of Tony Gasworth, who would lead the most laps with 71, and Kevin Carvick would win the 16th race. 2 wins in his rookie year, and also a year where no one really expected him to race. Sterling Carlin will start at pole position for the 17th race, where Todd Marcus wrecked 7 cars, and now he's out on lap 279 because of Kurt Busch tire. Hooray! And Krusty Rotor would almost win the 17th race, but in the end, his teammate Jeff Gorvette would beat him to the line to win the 17th race. Sterling Carlin would once again start at pole position for the 18th race, where Dale Earnhardt Jr. would lead the most laps with 316, and now Eugene Carbareski is out on the last lap because of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Hooray! Now, to the commentary. Michael Cartrip is second, but it's going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. using lessons learned from his father to go from 6th to 1st to score the victory in the Gaspin 400. Yes! Yes! So, that means that Michael Cartrip almost wins the 18th race, but in the end, Dale Earnhardt Jr. would win the 18th race at the same track that took his father's life just 5 months earlier. And Ken Schrader has this to say, because Ken Schrader and Eugene Carbareski are rivals. Jimmy Speedcar would start at pole position for the 19th race, where he's out because of Kurt Busch tire. Why? And now Billy Oil Changer would lead the most laps, but Tony Gasworth would wreck Billy Oil Changer, and Jeff Gorvette would win the 19th race. The 20th race has Bill Racelot starting at pole position, but then Slider Petrolski flips because he slipped on Sammy Smelter's stinky oil. Why? And now the King would almost win the 20th race, but in the end, Jeff Gorvette would get 2 wins in a row with the 20th race of 2001. Kevin Shiftwright will start at pole position for the 21st race, where Jeff Corvette would go airborne on lap 176 because of Todd Marcus. Why? And the King would win the 21st race of 2001. And here's what the King had to say after he won. Then Manny Flywheel asks this question. And Todd Marcus would somehow start in the pole for the 22nd race, where Ron Blaster would lead the most laps, but then John Hex wrecks 19 cars! And now he'll be suspended for the rest of the season because he wrecks too many cars. Oh, and cheated by using illegal tires. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. would win the 22nd race. The King would start at pole position for the 23rd race, where Ken Schrader is out because of Eugene Karbareski. Well, of course this happens. And also, Slider Petrolski would only lose by 5 feet to Krusty Rotor, who wins the 23rd race. And also, Hollingus would start at the pole for the 24th race, where Ruby Easy Oaks would go into the catch fence because of Todd Marcus. Why? And Johnny Blamer would wreck out with 2 to go. But in the end, the King will win the 24th race of 2001. Jeff Corvette will start at pole position for the 25th race, where Eugene Karbareski is out because of Ken Schrader. Well, of course this happens. And also, Jeff Corvette would almost win the 25th race, but in the end, Chuck Armstrong would win the 25th race. The 26th race has Hollingus starting at the pole, but then Dale Carrett would lead the most laps with 129, and Kenny Shiftstrike would get loose, and also he's out alongside Billy Oilchanger and Moray Clutchburn. Moray Clutchburn has this to tell Johnny Blamer. And Johnny Blamer would go airborne on the final turn because of Ryan Thunderbolt Jr. Why? And Bobby Carboni would be the car that ends up winning the 26th race of 2001. And here are the standings as of the 26th race of 2001.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
The 2001 Piston Cup Races 27 to 35 will be coming out very soon. And that's all I have to say because this video is getting long.